your body, it's going to look like it's not centered. As soon as you turn center, it's centered.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Good morning, everyone. Good morning and grand rising.
Yay.
And I'm Orrin Hercules, and I greet you to Unity in Harlem, located at 318 West 139th Street in the village of Harlem. We welcome you, those who in person and those who attend virtually via the internet. Our Sunday worship service invites you to discover your wholeness as a unique expression of the divine spirit. With that said, today's daily word reflects on Father's love. I would like to read the daily word quotation for today. It goes as thus: I bless those special ones who has shown me Father's love. A father's love is like no other. It gives me the warm feeling of protection and gentle guidance, and inspires me to live up to its example. Father's love takes many forms. It might mean helping with homework, coaching sports, and teaching of all kinds. It might mean the wise counsel of loving guidance that prepares children for the self-sufficient and ready for the freedom and responsibility of adulthood. A father's love may come from many earthly sources. No matter who shows me this love, its origin was divine. God is at the heart of all fathers' love. I pray that all fathers and father figures feel the appreciation of those they teach, love, and protect. May they know the love of God as they have brought it into the world. Fathers, make known to children your faithfulness. It's Isaiah 38:19. And today, we are privileged to have as our guest speaker, Reverend LeRoy Weathers. But I'd like to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And I'm reminded this morning of the people that played a very pivotal role in my life, including those that told me to get out of here. You're too young. And behave yourself. And my track coach, Mr. Goldberg, and Mr. Mackenheimer, my machine shop teacher, who had a lot of interest in me and didn't accept any excuses and pushed me to my potential. Today, I thank you very, very much. Truly appreciate it. Okay, so for today's worship service, the order will be the opening celebration song, Big God by Marie Poncé. With the Unity in Harlem affirmation following. Next is the preparation for meditation. Oh, the affirmation will be by Bob Poncé. The preparation for meditation, Nearer Than Air by Marie Poncé. And the meditation itself by Reverend LeRoy Withers. Following with the talk. There's a musical interlude following by Bob Poncé. And prayer requests, tithes, and offerings. Next. And I'll be back with announcements at that juncture. And following with our Song of Inspiration by Marie Poncé, Use Me, the prayer of protection, and ending with the peace song. And with that, I invite Marie to come and open with the song.
Thank you so much, Orrin Hercules. And I love those words that you spoke. Fathers, make known to your children your faithfulness. And if we just take a moment right now and just hug yourself, and part of that saying is for us to receive what our fathers are telling us in their faithfulness. So if we just take a moment and just breathe and feel that fatherly love around you. Now, if you don't associate that with a good feeling, you can choose the father that you'd like to have had, perhaps, and just think about that for a moment. I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself. I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. Can you feel that around you now? That fatherly love? And if you felt inside that you were a little resistant to that moment, you still have the rest of the day to revisit it and see if you can get there. You and your father, you and your mother, you and your authority figure, whoever that might be, even you and the divine. And now that we've gone there, let's start with a rousing song that comes from, I think, from probably Burkina Faso, perhaps, because they say they have a word that sounds like one that's a Moray song, a Moray word in there. So let's sing Big God. Everybody, we have now. Before we start, everybody go like this: 1, 2, around, and everything that all your prayers, the things you want to let go of, the next thing, watch me, you go like this, woo, and like this. Make that mean whatever you want. It's always got my hand. He's always on my side. A very big God. You have a very big God that surrounds us, just like we were talking about. Let's sing. You want to stand up? It's in your program. You can tunes. Elelele. Elelele. Big, big, big. Come on. Big, big, big. Ha ha. IBO. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Boom, boom. On my side. We're gonna do it again. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Boom. Here we go, sing. I have a very big God. We have a very big God. A very big God, oh. He's always by my hand. He's always on my side. A very big God. I got a very big God. A very big God, oh. He's always by my hand. He's always on my side. A very big God. Here we go. I got a very big God. A very big God, oh. He's always by my hand. He's always on my side. A very big God. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Tunes.
See my life? See my life. It's so wonder. If you know my God, He's a miracle worker. He comes through on the regular. Everything now jumping up. His blessings need no formula. He's my God, a mighty big God. See my life? See my life. It's so wonder. If you know my God,
Tunes.
He's a miracle worker. He comes through on the regular. Everything that jumping up. His blessing need no formula. See, He's my God, a mighty big God. I, 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 He's my God,
Tunes.
a very big God. Thank you, God, for everything. You're a God of miracles. You brought my family back together 2 years before my brother went to you, God. And we were able to create a miracle of 20 years, just reformed for ourselves. I thank you, God, because we did everything. There's nothing to regret. Here we go. He's my God, a mighty big God. See, my life is so wonder. If you know my God, it's a miracle worker. From New York to San Francisco and back, and down to Atlanta and Delaware. I praise you, God. I thank you for the peace that passes all understanding, because I really don't understand it either, really. Woo-hoo. The peace that passes all, everybody say it, the peace that passes all understanding. As the Jamaicans say, and Orrin says too, overstanding in Jamaica. All right. We got the Caribbeans here. All right. So now I'd like to warmly welcome Bob Poncé, who will give us the affirmation.
Isaiah 55, verse 11 says, "So shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it." Unity affirmations speak to the power of our words, and particularly the power of I am. And so we say this affirmation every Sunday to affirm our divine nature. The words are on the screen, and I invite you to say them with me. I am an abundant, radiating center of God's love and light for peace, healing, and inner truth for all.
Peace and inner truth. You can resonate and radiate that in this moment. The truth that the divine is in, out, around, through every single cell, every single molecule that we experience, and that is beyond experience. In this moment, nearer than the air. Thank you, Michael Gott, for this song that's going to prepare us for the meditation. It's in your program. It's like the air around me. It's like the sunlight on my face. Here we go. It's like the air around me. It's like the sunlight on my face. I see and feel the love of God surround me. I am touched by amazing grace. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed, it's already there, closer than the sunlight, nearer than the air. I breathe in, and I am filled with the Spirit. And it is health to my body, it is peace to my mind, it is joy to my soul. I breathe out a simple prayer. Thank you. And my breath becomes a song that is singing all day long, that is singing everywhere, nearer than the air. I breathe in, and I am filled with the Spirit. And it is health to my body, it is peace to my mind, it is joy to his spirit's health, kindness, joy, love forever. Amen. That surrounding spirit that touches and fills us in moments that we don't even know we need. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for continuing to cause us to grow and to love and to feel and to be and to choose life again and again, again and again and again and again. Amen. I'd like to welcome to the podium a very magnificent gentleman who has so many wonderful things to tell us. The Reverend LeRoy Weathers.
Thank you so much. You want to just put those lights on a second back there, Orrin, and then first of all, we're trying to get all this together here. I'd like to welcome you to Unity in Harlem. Salam. I'd like to welcome you today to Unity in Harlem. It's a special day. Salam, Hotep, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Unity in Harlem. If I've missed you, your religious way of welcoming, I apologize. But anyway, we want to start this day off. It's been somewhat of a tough weekend. I want to take time out to thank the folks, particularly Quasi, who was the one-man show in our Father's Day presentation and brunch that we had yesterday. He did a terrific job, and he had his friends come also in helping out. So we want to thank them as well. And we want to thank all that attended. Certainly it was to honor fathers or father-like figures. What I want to do before we begin the meditation is give you a kind of prep you in terms of what this sermon is going to be about, basically. Certainly it's about fathers. I'd like to add that when I did the presentation or the sermon for Mother's Day, some folks found it very interesting and some folks took notes. So there'll be some things that I'll repeat from when I did that sermon on Mother's Day. So if you didn't get it, take time out, get a pen and paper, piece of paper, and get ready to write some things down. Also, before we begin, I would like to start with a libation and ask that our ancestors, our fathers, our grandfathers be released from the spiritual world. So release them so they can come here. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll go right into the meditation. Also, I'm also going to speak, let the sermon speak for itself. So right now I'm going to grab this tree. And when you do libation, what you want to do is when you pour the water out, you want to pour it into a plant. This way, what happens is it gives that plant life. Okay? So, yeah. She does it all. She sings. She does the decoration stagehand and make sure everything is fine. So we're going to take this time now and ask that the ancestors be released from the spiritual world. And we begin by saying Ashe, and we pour water into this plant here. And we asked God that our ancestors be released from the spiritual world and come into this world. And in doing so, we think about our fathers, we think about our grandfathers. And with that being said, we take a moment in silence as they come into this world. And as you can feel them, you're summoning them, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and so forth and so on. And I feel their presence. So with that being said, we're going to move into the meditation. And Orrin, you can hit them lights.
Hello, welcome to Mindfulness with Missy. Today we will be doing a meditation on the father wound. A father wound develops when a person's father figure leaves a deep emotional pain from either being neglectful, physically and or emotionally abusive, or from not being able to meet a child's needs in their development. There doesn't need to be an extreme for a father wound to develop. It can even happen from a father not being able to effectively meet one's needs, even if you know they love and care. They weren't able to show you in a way you needed, which developed into a deep wound. Children can't rationalize, so they aren't aware it was the parent that was the problem. You as the child immediately blame yourself. As an adult now, you can logically understand this, but if the wound is not properly addressed and healed emotionally, then it will stay stuck in one's subconscious and will be a front runner in decision making when it comes to relationships and living day-to-day life. It can show up as not feeling good enough, dating people that mistreat you or are emotionally unavailable, not having self-discipline, low self-esteem, hating a certain gender, struggling with respect, having control issues, lack of boundaries, having a hard time feeling safe with yourself and looking for people to protect you, fear of abandonment, and difficulty with trust. Being aware of how it affects you is the first step in being able to heal the wound. How we can heal it is by addressing that hurt part of ourselves, our father, and then giving love to that part of ourselves and releasing it. To begin, find a quiet and comfortable place to sit or lay down. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to relax. Start by focusing on your breath. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold for a moment, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Repeat this several times to calm your mind and body. Pay no mind to what's going on outside of this meditation. You are exactly where you need to be. If your mind drifts, gently, without judgment, bring yourself back to this meditation. Now, imagine in front of you is a book of all your memories. As the book opens, you see on each page a memory from different parts of your life. All of them are memories with your father. Describe what you see. Describe to yourself what your father looks like. What is he doing? And any memories, emotions, or wounds associated with him. Describe what you are doing, what you look like, and what you are feeling in these moments. Without judgment, allow these feelings and experiences to come to the surface. Acknowledge any pain, sadness, anger, or unmet needs that you may have in relation to your father. What is it that you wish you could tell him? Tell him now. You could say whatever you want. There are no consequences, and nothing bad will happen. He wants to hear it. If at any moment you get overwhelmed or feel too upset, you can bring yourself back to your breath and move your eyes side to side until you feel calm, and then try again, or come back to it if you need. Visualize this conversation with your father. Share your feelings and express what you needed from him. Imagine him listening attentively and responding with love and understanding. Now, what is it that you wish he would have said to you? What did you need from him? What would you have told your little self if you were a father? As you are imagining your father saying these things to you, a warm, radiant light starts glistening from his chest, and it is growing and growing to the point it radiates to you and starts surrounding you. This light symbolizes love, compassion, acceptance, and healing. With each inhale, imagine this light entering your body and gently enveloping your father wound with warmth and understanding. You feel the most unconditional deep love and acceptance, something you had always wanted from a father. With each exhale, release any negative emotions, resentment, or anger connected to your father. Let go of the burdens and expectations you may carry. He didn't know how much his wounds would affect you, and he was in deep needing of healing he couldn't give himself. That is not an excuse, but an understanding, so you can finally let all the hatred, resentment, pain, and anger go. Although he may deserve it, that negative energy is being carried by you and not him. You are the one feeling it and carrying it with you, affecting your day to day. It is time to release it from your heart and mind. Now it is time to replace this lack of figure. Visualize a loving and nurturing figure standing beside you. This figure represents the love, protection, and support you needed from your father, but you may have not received. Feel their unconditional love, wisdom, protection, and acceptance. Give him a name and describe what he looks like. Imagine this figure grabs your hand and morphs into one with you. He is now a part of you. Take him with you wherever you go. Now repeat after me, silently or out loud. I release the pain of my father wound and forgive my father. My father's pains and issues do not reflect my self-worth. It is and never was my fault, no matter what was said. I was only an innocent child. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing. It means letting go of pain so it no longer has a place in my heart and mind. I am worthy of love, regardless of my past experiences. I am healing and I am whole. Return your focus to your breath. Take a few deep breaths, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Take a moment to reflect on your meditation experience. Journal your thoughts, feelings, and any insights that came up during this practice. You can repeat this meditation as many times as you need. A wound isn't just healed after one time of meditating on it. Sometimes it needs many, many sessions. Use as you need. Thanks for doing this meditation with me. Have a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, feeling more whole, free, and at peace.
Okay, and we're back. Thank you so much. I need to remind you that unity is about healing. So when you come down to unity, it's about healing. And one of the things that we focus on is healing emotionally, which will have a direct effect on you healing physically. And I say that because there are folks who may not had a good relationship with their father. And they may be in a situation that they're facing medical challenges. And the way that you approach it is forgiveness, forgiving. Once that happens, it opens the flow to allow God to help you heal. I've been around folks, including myself, where I've carried a luggage in reference to my father for long periods of time, but I realized that when I was able to release it, let it go, I felt better. I was able to go forward. So what we're going to talk about today, like I said, there'll be some things that's repetitious. Some folks had indicated to me, I've spoken to them, they said, we took notes. We missed some things that was relevant. So again, I just want to warn you or suggest that you get a pen and piece of paper out because I'm going to revisit some things that I spoke about before. But anyway, I don't know about you or anybody else out there whose relationship with their relationship with their father, but I want to ask the folks in the congregation, those raise your hand if in fact you didn't have a good relationship with your father. Now, well, I guess I'm the only one. And you folks out there in watching us through Zoom, raise your hand if you didn't have an ideal relationship with your father, the type of relationship that you really wanted to have. Raise your hand. I see some hands going up out there. That's for sure. But I want to start off by reading from the scriptures, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and the instructions of the Lord. Let's look at that first sentence. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to anger. This emphasizes fathers should avoid actions that intentionally or unintentionally causes their children to become angry, frustrated, and resentful. This includes unreasonable demands, harsh treatment, or lack of understanding and patience. It also cautions against actions or words that could discourage and demoralize children. Think about that. I think about that. But bring them up in the discipline and instructions of the Lord. This highlights the raising children with godly values, teaching them about their relationship to God, and disciplining them in a way that is loving and consistent. Discipline refers to guiding and correcting their behavior. And instructions refers to teaching them God's words and ways. Letting them know that they have the mind of God. Because God is mind. And God's mind is love. Clearly, let them know their relationship with God. There's that personal relationship. And if they should have any problems, et cetera, oftentimes what some people do is they tell everybody their problem. I was like that. When I had issues with my father or whatever, I'd tell everybody. I'd go to the bus stop. I'd tell the folks at the bus stop. I'd tell anybody that would listen. Because you know why? I wanted them on my side. I wanted them to see him the way I saw him. But I soon learned through unity, there was a shift in my consciousness. And I began to realize my relationship with God was one-on-one. So what I did is spoke directly to God when I had issues, because I had that relationship with God, rather than taking it to other people. Now, quite naturally, what happens, there's times I've taken my issues with individuals who I felt were supportive, who I felt were truly my friends. I didn't do that all the time, because sometimes they were the issue, But taking it to God and communicating with God through prayer and meditation, and ask for a solution. Ask for that energy to forgive, because everything is energy. Everything that happens is energy. Fathers are called to model God's mind with love and grace, which can positively influence their children's behavior and character in with him and others. Now, I know when I was younger, one of the things that was we had to do and we were taught to do was the fact that to respect your adults. No getting around it. I can remember one incident, and as we go forward, I'm going to remind myself of because they spoke about it, memories. I remember the first time with my great uncle, Uncle Henry, who was my grandmother's brother. And he snatched me up because I wasn't behaving. And I was like, I'm going to tell my father, you're not my father. You're not my father. Why did I say that? Because when he told my father not only whipped my behind because of what I did wrong, but also disrespecting Uncle Henry. We've lost some of that. We've lost some of that. You can't even tell your sister or your brother about their kids and how they were disrespecting you, because oftentimes they'll blame it on you. Well, it's what you did. Because parents sometimes are overprotective. There are parents that are objective about their children. And yes, you were wrong. I'd like to give another quotation from Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 6 through 7. These commandments that I give you today are to be in your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. Back in the day, I'm going back in the day. Things have changed now. There used to be that model: don't do as I do as I say. I seen you do. Don't do as I do as I say. But those things have changed. Now we have to become role models for our kids. We cannot expect our children to do something that we won't do. I'm reminded of my brother, and I'll be sharing memories today. My mother, she was stern about education. And I remember hearing a conversation wasn't a conversation. Actually, my brother was kind of going off on it. He said, I'm tired of you putting that on us about going to college. I'm tired. Why didn't you go? You had a chance to go to college. Why did you put that on us? And that's prevalent today. We can't put on our kids what we're not willing to do. And secretively, my mother enrolled in Nassau Community College on her own. So certainly today, we have to be role models. We can't just talk about it. We got to be about it. And that's as simple as that. In Proverbs chapter 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. I had a stepson. That reminds me, I had a stepson who made his transition. He was shot and killed, PJ. And I remember good memories. Quite naturally, I was kind of upset when he died, when he was murdered, because it didn't have to happen. And I was angry, and I just didn't know what to do. I was angry with him. And I did not take time out to think about the good moments, the memories that we had, how I instilled some things into him And he carried it forth. I remember one time we were on the subway. I remember like it was yesterday. He was sitting next to this gentleman, and this lady was standing up. PJ looked at the gentleman. Gentleman looked at him. PJ got up and gave that lady the seat. And that person that was next to him was so surprised. He might have felt a sense of guilt because he didn't get up. Gave PJ $5. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. So we have an impact on our children. There's absolutely no getting around it. Now I'm going to go back and kind of focus on this point now on individuals that find it hard to have a fruitful relationship with their father because of what they've experienced. And once again, what I talk about is the fact that you need to come to some type of closure with that. You know? In some cases, you may not change how he feels. One of the things I carry with me is that I realize you can't change people, places, or things, but you can change yourself. If you go around trying to wait for someone else to change, you'll still go through what you're going through. You see. But when you change yourself in a loving way, in a caring way, in an understanding way. You can't change the truth, but you can change yourself. You need to look at what you've done to create this negative type of relationship. And you be honest with yourself. You see, I kept it going on. You know, my father and I, we couldn't be in the room for 5 minutes without him going off or me going off, et cetera, you know. But one memory I have, and I'm going to share this, is, you know, sometimes you say things that kind of hurt the other person. You know, you say things. So there was often times when I'd go out to Long Island, and there's been times my father, okay, we get into okay, leave. He put his hand up. I said, I know, leave, right? Yeah, you know, leave. I remember one time he said, leave. I'll give you a ride to the train station. You don't got to give me no ride to no train station. You just asked me to leave. I remember one time when he had asked me, he said, leave. I said, okay, LeRoy, I'll leave. He looked at me. He said, what you say? What you call me? And I got grips. I said, Father, Dad, Daddy. I remembered he was telling me no matter what we're going through, I'm your father. Remember that. And I earned that title, which he did. You know, I had a roof over my head. I was in a situation where I went to a school where it seemed like I was in a school district that was highly recommended to folks if you wanted your children to go to college. My father put me in that situation. I was very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. And I'm going to share some other things as well. You know, not only with my father, but also memories I've had with my sons as we go forward. Okay, the fifth commandment says, honor thy father. Take notes. But the question of how to honor parents, especially parents with whom you've had disagreements or painful interactions, it's no simple matter. It's very, very difficult. At times, it becomes difficult because it keeps happening and happening. You see. So when things keep happening to you, it becomes very, very difficult to forgive. Each and every time this happens, you know. Your father could be difficult and frustrating to talk to or even to get along with. I've had that situation. He continually criticizes your appearance, your choice of career, your romantic partner, how to raise your children, how you practice your religion, or often you call on to see others, or how you often call on to see others. I'm sorry. I don't know why you around that person. I don't know why you hanging around that person. Which you begin to realize that that's true. See, I don't have to be around you. I could be around your friends, and I know how you are. They dictate how you are. And some of my friends were leading me in a direction that wasn't healthy. But to rebel against my father, that's the direction I'm going. That's where I'm going. Honoring your father is difficult, even if you are raised by extremely decent and caring parents. The very nature of a father-child relationship is filled with highly charged emotions. Roof over my head? Sometimes you think you're going through changes when you look at other people, what they go through with their parents. And in teaching, I'm quite sure folks have experienced stories in terms of how parents have treated them. At every age, elementary, I've had kids tell me stories about their parents. Most of the time it was fabricated, and other times it wasn't. And again, I want to emphasize that I in terms of I didn't have a situation that I didn't have what I wanted to a degree, but I didn't get that love that I wanted from my father. And sometimes folks don't know how to give it. Yeah, yeah. He didn't have a father, or he didn't know his father. He would tell, I didn't know my father. I didn't have a father. Now, my grandmother had 9, his mother had 9 kids, so I guess he might have bumped into him in one of the times and stuff like that. So, but in any event, he did not know his father, you see. Through teaching, I'm quite sure there's folks in the room that's also teachers, and that is, you hear stories, with parents done. And when you hear those stories, you want your story back. I've heard a student shared with me how her mother's put her as an infant in the oven. What? And it so happened that her sister came by, who normally doesn't come by. And her sister was 16 and pulled her out. You hear stories, You hear stories about people that young folks that are in foster care and what they go through. Now, I didn't go through that. So essentially what I'm telling you, no matter how bad your father has treated you to a degree, you might not even have known your father. You might not even have known your father. But still, if you did know and it wasn't a great relationship, if everybody threw their problems in the bowl, you'd want yours back. From the stories that I've heard. In the 18th century, 18 years ago, one of Talmud's, a vast collection of Jewish laws and traditions, the most respected Rabbi Yoye suggested that the most difficult of all 1,613 commandments in traditional Judaism is honor thy father and mother. It's the most difficult to accomplish or bring about. If we look at the original scroll of Exodus 20:12, honor your father and your mother so that you may live a long life, that you may live long in the land of the Lord your God is giving you. However, The first word of the commandment, kabid, which means heaviness and weightness and difficulty and burden. On the other hand, it means honor and gives importance or weight to someone. Thus, honoring your father may be a heavy burden or an opportunity to give weight or importance to a fruitful relationship. Clearly, the Bible doesn't pretend that honoring your mother is always light and easy. Excuse me. Clearly, the Bible doesn't pretend that honoring your father is always light and easy. So many people feel weighed down and burdened by the idea of honoring their father because they have unsolved resentment towards their mother, their father rather. I'm sorry. So what happens is that for me, I was in a peculiar situation. I admired my father. At the same time, I was angry with him, very much angry. And I admired my father because of the respect that people gave him. You know, my father was a banker. Now, I grew up and I grew up in a white community. So they used to ask me, what does your father do? I said, well, he's a banker. So they thought he worked for a bank here, a bank there, you know. But we all understand what we understand with that when it comes to banking and numbers, playing numbers. I can talk about that now because my father's not here, so he wouldn't get arrested. But I seen my father back in the day. There were bankers that kept communities alive. You hear about mothers playing 5 cents, putting 5 cents on a number, 10 cents on the number, and hit the number. And their kids would know they hit the number because, oh, we having Chinese food tonight. We having pizza tonight, et cetera, et cetera. That was my father doing that. That was him. I've seen him help folks pay their rent. When I took these blinders off, that blinders of hatefulness and being angry, I was able to see the good in him and what he did for the community. In Freeport, he could have been a mayor of Freeport. Everybody respected my father. And I laugh and share a memory with you. His AKA name was Count. And I used to walk around in Freeport, like I'd go to the movies, and I would be like, I'm Lee's son. Like, go on in. They used to have Western. I don't know if you remember when Western Hamburger food. They used to have one on the strip in Freeport. I go in there, you know, and order something. And when it comes to get paid, I said, I'm Lee's son. They go, oh, you Count's son? I said, yeah, I'm Count's son. That's right. Take the hamburgers out and stuff like that. Not a problem. I had one incident one time. I went to this candy store in the village, Freeport. And I got all these candies, right? It was 27 cents. That's it when they had Baby Jane and all that. They don't have that kind of stuff now. So I went to the counter knowing I didn't have to pay for this. So the guy looked at me and he says, that's 27 cents. I said, well, I'm Lee's son. He said, oh, that's good. It's 27 cents. I said, well, maybe he knows him by his AKA name. I said, I'm Count's son. He said, well, that's great. So you should be able to count 27 cents. So that's the kind of respect my father had, and I admired him. You know, and my father, when I used to go to the barber shop, right? My father would always say, you know, they're going to put you in the front of the line. You don't go in front of the line. You get in line this where everybody else is. You know, and he was very modest, a modest man. Now, again, we had our differences, you know. But, you know, there's always good in everybody if you search hard enough. if you look hard enough. And that forgiveness piece becomes easier. You know, it really does, because you play a part of this peace, this unrest. There's a part that you play, you see. And when you begin to realize the part that you play, it becomes easier to forgive. And again, what we do is look at the good in people. Now, decide whether to forgive or not. Even if your own resentments are justified, just like what I'm saying, you still can choose to forgive these hurts in order to allow yourself to open up to possibilities of better feelings toward your father. In the words of the 19th century philosopher Edward Chapman, never does the human soul appear so strong and noble as when it foregoes revenge and dares to forgive an injury. Let me read that one more time. Never does the human soul appear so strong and noble as when it foregoes revenge and dares to forgive an injury. What can result in not forgiving your mother, father? See, this is from the last one, as you can see. I was crossing out the mother, put the father in there. I missed that one. Your relationship with God. Your relationship with God. You can develop health issues, both mentally and physically. It has a negative effect on present and future relationship with families and friends. Sometimes we unconsciously take things out on other people. We blame them. You know, you could have folks say, you say something to somebody, and they'll say, well, you're trying to make me feel bad. No, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. It's already in you to feeling bad. I'm just telling you the truth. And sometimes the truth can hurt. It's like if somebody owes you, you lend somebody $5 or $10, and they say they're going to pay you this week. You keep extending it, then after 4 weeks, I need my money. Oh, you just trying to make me feel bad? No, I just need my money. I'm telling you the truth. So when folks come at you and say, well, you trying to make me feel bad. No, I'm just telling you the truth, and you can't handle it. You can't handle it. That's the deal. It has to already be in you. Now, is anybody out there can volunteer? What else can, when we have this emotional hurricane going on, how else can it affect you? We think about that. Now, let's talk about strategies. And oftentimes we talk about problems, and we don't talk about strategies and how we can resolve the problem. Sit down and write a letter, which I did. I shared this before. Both my parents had passed away, and I went to their grave, and I sat down and I wrote a letter. And sometimes when you do that, you feel that heaviness off your back, that burden. You don't cry for help as often. And you write exactly what you like and you dislike. That's what I did. I mean, don't send a letter if your mother's alive. If she's alive, send it to your mother or whatever it may be. That's your father is between you, God. You see. And sometimes, like I said, you can read it privately to a friend, a counselor, minister, priest, or rabbi who can supportively support you in healing your pain. And I said earlier, I know I'm being repetitive, but if we can create a list comparing the negative side and the positive side of our Father, you'd be surprised. I know I was shocked. But again, I had these blinders on, tinted glasses of hate, of anger. And I'm going to get you, you know. But, you know, when I think about it, because I used to call my uncles up and used to complain about my father, this and that, and they hang up, boom. You know, you can't talk bad about my brother Lee. You know, boom. Because I wanted them to see how I saw it. You see, him and I had a bad relationship. That doesn't mean that he was a bad person. You know, God makes that choice. God makes that judgment. God lets you know. But here's what you do know that, you know, oftentimes with folks, they can't be around me. Like I couldn't be around my father, you know, because there was just so much going on. But as you follow me here, what happens is that I learn to forgive so I can go on with life. Now, you create healthy and respectful limits. Boundaries and limits refer to how close you let Father get to you emotionally and how well you protect yourself when he is too close or too invasive. Limits and boundaries have a tremendous amount to do with whether you constantly at war with your Father or whether you will find the strength and clarity to connect with him. Boundaries that are strong enough and flexible enough in setting limits that protect you from getting walked over by your father, and that are flexible enough so that you can enjoy your father's good qualities. Honor, honor him and connect with him to whatever extent feels right. You don't want to set up boundaries that are too weak. Most adults never find an effective way of saying no to their father or set healthy limits. Or boundaries are too rigid and inflexible. These tend to be opposite extremes. When your father is stubborn or tends to complain or lash out in anger whenever you attempt to say no or set a limit, there are several comeback lines you can use. This comeback line is only for those who feel comfortable being assertive and have a father strong enough to deal with a firm limit. Stop. I don't appreciate being talked to this way. Let's start again. In some families, this line does the job beautifully. Your father realizes that you're no longer a pushover and that he has pushed you too far. This line doesn't blame, explain, or argue. It doesn't call names or use provocative trigger words such as, you never listen, or you always criticize, thus escalating the conflict. This comeback line is a little gentler and warmer. Dad, I know you don't want to hurt me, but when you say blank, it hurts. So let's start again. It starts with a compassion reminder that tells your father you realize he has a good heart and doesn't mean to be hurtful or difficult. Then it points out what was hurtful and ends with a warm invitation. Okay. I just repeat that line. Dad, I know you don't want to hurt me, but when you say such and such, it hurts. So let's start again. This next comeback line reminds your father that you care about him, which usually leads to a much bigger conversation. Dad, I care about you, and I want to do what works for both of us. So let's talk about this calmly and come up with something we both feel good about. Again, Dad, I care about you, and I want to do what works for you, for both of us. So let's talk about this calmly and come up with something we both feel good about. You're taking on the role of a gentle but firm facilitator when you can reassure your mother that both of you, reassure your father that both of you will have a turn to speak and both of your viewpoints will be taken seriously as you work together towards a solution you both feel good about. One of the major reasons for the fifth commandment, according to most according to most scholars, individuals who study religious thoughts and ideas, is that the ultimate test of honoring your father comes when he feels isolated, become ill, or rely increasingly on your financial and emotional and caregiving support. So what happens is that you get to that point where your father needs this support or financial help. And then I went through that with my mother, actually. You know, she had Alzheimer's, but when I was there with her, had, there were some hiccups. This is a story, but I just enjoyed being there with her and honoring her. I'm going to close with this. In Unity Teachings, Charles Fillmore emphasized that God is the universal father. So, in other words, even if you don't have a father in the physical world, you have a father in the spiritual world. Now, I need to say that Jesus referred to God as Father. And what that's all about is letting you know that you have an intimate relationship with your Father. That's what that was all about. You don't have to go through anybody. I was a Catholic. I was brought up as a Catholic. We used to have to confess our sins before we could receive communion. You don't have to do that. You got a direct line. Again, Charles Fillmore emphasized that God is the universal Father, loves all humanity as his children, and that each person has the potential to realize their divinity and express the Christ within. Unity believes that through spiritual understanding and practice, individuals can awaken to their inherent divine nature, which we term the Christ. We see Jesus as the ultimate example of a human being realizing their full potential as a child of God by cultivating love, faith, spiritual understanding. Individuals can manifest the Christ or divine nature within themselves and their interaction with others. Now, with closing, I just want to say, and just closing on this, I know for myself and all you out there, not necessarily your father, you be thankful for father-like images. Orrin shared, I remember one of my teachers, I miss Mr. Lankowitz. He encouraged me to be a lifeguard at 16. I would have never known anything about that. I've had I consider three sons. I've had, and two of them are stepsons. But I had that opportunity. My oldest, PJ, which he likes to be called Pete, and I would like to take time out to thank his mother, Gail, for allowing me to be in his life. He considered me his father, And what happens is that he played an important part in my life. Now, there were issues, I learned more. Sometimes my older son, Chris, would go, well, Dad, you didn't treat me this way, because I didn't know. I was a kid that had a kid. Folks say when you know better, you do better. That's what I did. And he understood. And PJ looked up to Chris like Chris was his older brother. I can remember Juan Rivera, I was in his life. I was his male figure. And I could remember being the best man at his wedding. Now, his biological father, Juan, had issues in the beginning. And then when he was getting married, by the fact I was the best man and his father was sitting, I said, oh my God, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And after the wedding, he came up to me. He thanked me. He thanked me for everything I did for his son. Now, Juan's sisters, Frankie was the father. And it's just I can't tell you, he also came up to me and thanked me for everything I did for his daughters. I mean, wow. But they're a part of my life. They're part of my extended family. There's no getting around it. I need to say that Frankie's granddaughter, I went to a graduation. She graduated from West Point. So I'm a part of that. So to close things, particularly folks that may not know their father, you have a father. God is your father. He's everybody's father. Even if you have a father, God supersedes that father because God is your father. And I want to take time out to thank everybody for listening today. With that in mind, what I'm going to do to close, we had libation. We're going to ask that the spirits, the ancestors, our fathers and grandfathers who have passed away, that they return to the spiritual world. So I'm going to grab this plant. Again, I want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, God, for releasing our ancestors from the spiritual world. We now ask that they be re-enter into the spiritual world. We felt their spirit. With all that being said, I say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Now remember, I just want to remind you that when you do libation, it's honoring and recognizing. We need to do that more because we need to call on our ancestors as much as possible right now because we need them. So I say Ashe, and I put this in here. I pour this in. We're sending our ancestors back to the spiritual world. Oh, this is the minister's minute. What I want to say is I really want to speak about what's going on in this country today. And I need to let us know we have to be resilient and keep that joy. Because what's happening now with this administration, they're trying to break us once again. They're trying to break us down. We have to be resilient. And we have to hang on to that joy. When I talk about that joy, if you're out there helping people, we have Orrin Orrin today he was, cleaning the Board of Health. But anyway, we have Orrin that he serves people food. That's his joy. Don't let anybody take that joy from you, and be resilient in doing it. Because what happens is, again, they're just trying to break us down. So if you're doing anything that's helping, one of the things I do, I teach English as a second language. I volunteer, you know, but the way this country, this administration is coming down on immigrants, you know, I'm more resilient. I want to do it even more. I enjoy teaching, but it gives me joy. Don't let this system break you down, you know. And I'm reminded of, again, just one thing in terms of it's important to vote. It's important to vote. I explained to you before that folks have said to me, this one person has said to me, well, you know, I don't vote because, you know, they already know who's going to win. What sense does it make to vote? And that's their perspective, because it's about perspective. My perspective is that I've seen our ancestors died for us to vote. 3 civil rights workers were killed in Mississippi because they went around registering people to vote. People crossed bridges so we could vote. They didn't let the dogs or the fire hoses stop them. That's my perspective. So I vote to honor that. To honor that. So it's your perspective. And understand, a block of votes could make a difference. A community of votes could make a difference. So I'm suggesting that you vote. I remember with PJ, when he was a young kid, he 4 or 5 years old, I used to take him into the voting booth with me. So I suggest you do that as well, to instill in your children how important it is to vote. Now, I really understand quickly, you know, there are things that are done, even though we vote on it, and it doesn't matter. They make a change. For example, when Bloomberg ran, he ran 3 times. We voted on limited voting. But he ran 3 times. Then you say, then why vote? Why vote on limiting voting if he could change it and go behind back doors? I'm saying the vote is your perspective. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to leave it that note. And we're into the next scene here, the next step, which is prayer requests and offering. First is the prayer request, right? Okay, if anybody in mind, you don't have to write it down. Keep in mind someone that needs prayer. And if you don't have anybody to pray for, this country needs some prayer, some serious prayer. And we can get through it. This ain't nothing now. You know, we've moved mountains before. We can move another mountain again through prayer, meditation, and working together. Yeah. Particularly in the Black community. We need to let you know we're not outnumbered, we're out organized. And we need to make a change in that, become more organized. But pray for this country that we move in the right direction. I'm going to give you time to think about that, and we'll collect that, folks that are in prayer. Now we'll move to the next section, is tithing. Now I know that you're supposed to tithe 10% of your whatever income you have. I remember back in the day, this one minister, you know, I would put in $1 and he'd say, I'm quite sure you making more than $10 a week. Yeah, I am. You know? So in any event, give, because it comes back. It really does. You know, I had learned the hard way, but it does come back. And so we want to say the affirmation on giving. I will say that I invite you to follow me. Love, or divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that we give and all that we receive. Now we say it with me. I invite you to say it with me. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm Orrin, and as promised, here are the announcements for the week. But first, Unity in Harlem is an open, inclusive, diverse, welcoming spiritual community that sees each person as a creation of the divine spirit. Through the study of metaphysical interpretation of the Bible and other sacred literature, you are invited to discover your own divinity. And Unity in Harlem conduct meditations at Pillars every Thursday at 12 noon. And the link for that is 212-222-3470. Also, Unity in Harlem offers meditation at Morehouse for older adults every Thursday at 3 p.m. Unity in Harlem Zoom connection is 698-428-2725. By phone, it's 929-205-6099, both with the passcode of 777-7777. The Tuesday study group is studying Emmett Fox's Sermon on the Mount. At 6:30, from 6 to 8 p.m. The study group is currently using Emmett Fox's Guide to Successful Living. On Friday, Unity in Harlem Prayer Circle meets at 6 to 7 p.m. Come and release in the comfort of prayer. Also, anyone wanting to speak to the minister about a personal matter, feel free to call 646-481-1844. Next Sunday, June 22nd, the guest speaker will be Reverend Juan Enrico Toro. I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear him. And on June 29th, the light is going along, or getting, the light of going along or getting along. I guess Reverend Carol J. Hunt will be the minister. Okay, that's the announcements. And we'll continue with our song of inspiration by Marie Poncé with Ricky Byers is Use Me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Orrin Hercules and Reverend LeRoy Weathers, who always has so much to give to us and to teach us. Wow. So use me. Oh God, I stand for you. Yeah, we will. It's in your program, in this storehouse that is Unity in Harlem. Use me. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was a son. God is the Son. But God's so much more than the earth and the stars and all of creation. God is creator, all in all, freeing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. All I'm saying is, command my hands. What must they do? Command my life. It's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine his light. God frees us to shine his light. God has us to shine his light as me, as you. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me to shine his light, and God frees us to shine his light, and God has us to shine his light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me directly, God. And sometimes we don't need other people to tell us either, sometimes, but sometimes we do. Sometimes we got to listen too. So there we are.
I just want to add one other thing.
Oh, yeah, here.
In doing this, we need to understand that God is a verb. God is not a noun. God is a verb. God is action, movement, and that's what we have to do, move. If God was just a noun and God said, let there be light and still dark, we in trouble. God is action, movement. It's no noun. There's nobody that's up there in the sky, with a grave, however they depict that. God is movement. God is a verb. And thank you.
All right. So now the prayer protection. Here you go.
Oh, okay, get the mic. Prayer protection. Let's all do this together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God surrounds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all this world. Listen, Maria, next time you leave.
You are never messing up because you're led by the Spirit of God. There's no such thing as a mess up. God gives us many do-overs. Amen.
I'm working on my 299th do-over, so he does give a lot of do-overs. Yes, the peace song.
Oh my, what happened? Okay. All right. I guess that the thing about it is just to be present, isn't it? Just to be aware. Listen. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each road and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Yay! Everybody hug each other. And yeah, we just did. All right. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Father's Day, Lee. And Orrin and David and everybody